Kirk Cousins has definitely taken his fair share of criticism these past couple of weeks, and, some of it by me, and I think some of it very much deserved. He was able to help his team blow out the Giants last week, but I think we all kind of said, okay, that's kind of what Kirk Cousins does. He beats up against bad teams, but against the better teams, he can somewhat struggle. At least that's the narrative, even if it's not necessarily totally true. However, he had a big game against Philadelphia and proved that he can beat some good teams as well. It's not just the bad teams that he beats up on. I mean, he was able to throw for 333 yards in just 29 attempts, which is definitely very good. And he also threw for 4 touchdowns and just 1 interception. So, just numbers-wise, he had a very big day. He had solid plays just across the game. He had some big plays, and so let's just jump into it. We'll start things off with this play as it's going to be a cover 4 zone, and Adam Thielen is running that route right there. So this is probably not the best route against the cover 4 zone. This ideally would be a good route against maybe a cover 2. Just thinking about it logically, there's going to be 4 Eagles who are deep, and since this is a deep route, there will be several Philadelphia players who could potentially make a play on this ball. And even if you take a look right after this ball is snapped, as you notice, Thielen is getting ready to cut, but there are several Philadelphia players who are in this area. And also just worth mentioning in terms of what situation this is a 3rd down and 12, which is why the Philadelphia Eagles are trying to take away something deep, so that's why this is going to be a tough route to try to make sure it works. And also this is in the first quarter of a 0-0 game, so everything's important right now. You have no idea which way this game is going to go, so you really do want to try to get some points on the board if possible. But what I love about this play is that, even though Thielen doesn't really get that open, look at the throw that Cousins puts on this one. You couldn't ask for much of a better throw than that one. Adam Thielen's able to make a good catch, and they're able to convert on a crucial 3rd down and 12. It's not easy to do. I mean, Philadelphia had a coverage that was designed to take away plays like that. Adam Thielen got a little bit open, but there wasn't a huge window there, but that was enough. Cousins was able to fit it through. So it wasn't just the bad Philadelphia Eagles secondary, it was also Cousins playing well. I know some people that don't think too highly of Kirk Cousins will still say, well, you know what, he did it against a bad secondary. Anybody can throw for 300 yards against the Eagles secondary, but at the same time, he was making some good throws. I don't think that we should take away from the fact that he had a good game just because he was playing against a worse secondary, but at the same time, we should mention it and should bring up that, yeah, maybe the stats were a little bit inflated because he got a little bit lucky with some bad plays by the Eagles defense. Like on this one, the way it's going to work for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings is that it's going to be a play action to the top half of the screen, but Cousins will keep it himself and roll out to the bottom half of the screen. And so for the Vikings, really the key matchup is going to be Stefon Diggs going up one-on-one against Rasul Douglas right there. Because for one thing, watch how open Diggs is going to get, and not really too much of it because of him, but because of Douglas. I mean, I'm not sure what Douglas was really doing there. I think he just totally bit on the play action, but at the same time, you're a defensive back. It does no harm in just running out to make sure that you're covering up the receiver. Because now it turns out it's play action and you were wrong, and now Diggs is wide open. And also, if you look at Cousins, the play action worked perfectly, and he is all by himself. So this is just too easy for Cousins. But at the same time, do give Cousins some credit. He makes a good throw. I mean, it was pretty far, but at the same time, it was not too far because Diggs is a fast guy and he can run up and catch those. So that's kind of where you want to put it, actually, and it resulted in a touchdown. It was a bad play by the Philadelphia defense. I don't even think you could argue the contrary. I mean, they just screwed up. But at the same time, as an offense, you have to take advantage of your opposing defense's screw-ups, and that's what Kirk Cousins and the Vikings did there. And also, should be mentioned, Stefon Diggs, he had a touchdown. He had a great game as well. I could have just as easily made this video on Stefon Diggs, but I figured I had already made a negative video about Kirk Cousins, so I should probably make a positive video now that he is playing pretty well. One of the things that I really liked about Kirk Cousins in this game, and also it might be one of the main reasons why Kirk Cousins always seems to beat up on bad teams but struggle against good teams, is a play like this. Adam Thielen has a one-on-one matchup, and that's going to be his route, which is a way that you can beat this one-on-one matchup. There's multiple moves in it, so it can definitely fool opposing defenders, and so that's where Kirk Cousins is going to look to throw this ball to. And so after this ball is snapped, what I really like about this play is, okay, so he's getting ready to cut. This is a pretty solid situation, but if you look at Cousins, he's already getting ready to throw this football. He knows this is a good matchup, he knows this is something that he likes, and so he's just going to take this chance and throw it up there and see if Adam Thielen can make the catch, and for a good reason, Adam Thielen is going to be able to make this catch. That's what you kind of have to do in a lot of ways if you are Kirk Cousins, is make plays like that, honestly. I mean, just try things. Not every play is going to be a perfect play, and also, you don't always know if someone's going to be open by the time you have to make a throw. Sometimes you have to make a throw a little bit earlier than you know if he'll be open or not. Like on that play, it could have easily been defended well and knocked away, but more often than not, that's not going to happen, so throw it up there. It seems like Cousins just plays with more confidence when he's playing against a bad defense, but I feel like if he played with more confidence against some better defenses, he would still find himself having more success. Especially when you have two good receivers in Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, they're in a conversation for best 1-2 punch in football. Like on this one, they're going up against a cover 4 zone, and those are the two routes I want you to keep an eye on here. Again, this is kind of the thing where it's better against a cover 2 zone or maybe a cover 3 zone. Cover 4 can be a little bit tough, but basically the way it typically works is that Diggs can just push a defender deep, and then Thielen, who's running underneath him, could potentially get open. That's kind of the way this play could potentially work. However, the opposite is going to happen. If you look right when this ball is snapped, you'll notice that those two Philly defenders are making sure they're taking away Adam Thielen. There's kind of a lack of communication going on here by Philly. One of the guys should be staying further deep, while the other one goes over to try to intercut that route and make sure that Thielen isn't open. However, since they both are down, this now means that this could be a one-on-one matchup for Diggs, and if you look at him, he does have some leverage here. This is definitely going to be a situation where there could be an opening. Again, for Kirk Cousins, he doesn't know if this is going to be a completion or not, but it's more often than not going to be a completion, especially with the way Diggs is playing this game, so take a shot, and he's going to throw one deep. Diggs is able to make the catch and get into the end zone for a touchdown. That's the Kirk Cousins that I like. That's the Kirk Cousins that earned his big contract. He's the type of guy who can make plays like that. If he's confident, he can be a huge asset. Again, I don't know if it's actually worth it to give him that big of a contract, but at the same time, he's on your team right now. There's nothing you can do about it. For the next 2 years, you're stuck with him for better or worse, so at least in this situation, it was for better. It's impossible to make a Kirk Cousins video without talking about his contract, but at the same time, his contract is his contract. Like, we already know what the situation is, but can he still be a positive asset to the Vikings? And at least last week, he absolutely was. He was a huge positive asset. And it wasn't just those traditional plays. It wasn't just Philadelphia players playing poorly. I mean, take a look at this play. It's going to be a cover 1 linebacker blitz, and that's the route that Kirk Cousins wants to throw to. But again, this is going to be play action, and this is going to be a blitz. So this is actually a bad situation for the Minnesota Vikings. Ideally for Minnesota, they want to run this play against zone coverage because it gets the linebackers to move in, and then you can just throw it over the top of them and hit your receiver running over the middle of the field. However, since it's a blitz, there's not even going to be any linebackers in the middle of the field, and it's man coverage, so that kind of means that the play action isn't going to do too much. It's just one of those situations where the play calls don't match up and are definitely going to be in the defense's favor on this play. And it'll be pretty well executed by Philadelphia, too. I mean, if you look right when this ball is snapped, there's going to be a defender who is running straight to Kirk Cousins. He's untouched with a straight shot to Cousins. He wants to hit Johnson right over there, but this route's going to take a little bit of time to develop, and he just doesn't have the time to wait for it to develop. However, watch what he's going to do. He's going to get around this pressure by running and make a great throw on the run to fit it through a tight window and get that completion. I mean, that's a really great play by Cousins. I didn't know Kirk Cousins could run that fast or make those kind of athletic plays. I mean, he's looking like a vanilla Michael Vick out there with how well that play was. I mean, that's a play that a $27 million quarterback would make. And I also thought the Vikings offense just played well as a unit. I felt like just their passing game played well as a unit. And what I mean by that is a play like this, where it's a cover 3 zone, and here's how it's going to work for Minnesota. It's going to be play action once again, and then what they're going to do is send Thielen on that route right there, a go route, and then they're going to have Irv Smith Jr., he'll run just basically behind him. So the play action will get the Philadelphia defenders in charge of covering the middle of the field further in, and then Adam Thielen's route will get the defender who's in charge of covering the bottom left-hand corner of the screen further over deep down the field. Meaning that there could be a big gap for Smith, and take a look at what happens right when this ball is snapped. It's going to work out perfectly. I mean, as you see, Thielen is definitely taking care of a defender right there. There's definitely a defender who's making sure he's covering Thielen, which you have to do, but now this leaves Smith wide open underneath him. Cousins makes a good throw, Smith makes the catch, and they're able to pick up a big gain, and that's really what football is all about. Just converting on plays like that, just executing well, and that's what they did all game against Philadelphia. Listen, there's a reason why prior to this season I said the Minnesota Vikings would be a championship contender team. There was only like 6 or 7 teams I said that about, and the Vikings were one of them. They're a really good football team. I think the underreported story is that with Garrett Bradbury, their offensive line has been playing a lot better. I think Kirk Cousins had some bad weeks. That is what Kirk Cousins is going to do, but he's now playing some good weeks, and honestly, when the Vikings play their best football, nobody can stop them.